right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live back on the Sober Grind podcast.
Sober Grind.
It is our pleasure to be with you here as always today. Again, my name is Austin Armstrong. I'm joined by my ever so special co-host,
Pej.
And we have the lovely Andy with us today. And today for you, we have a very special guest. His name is Leonard Buschel. He is a California certified substance abuse counselor with years of experience working with people struggling with addiction. He attended Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. Mr. Buschel is the founder of Writers in Treatment, whose primary purpose is to promote treatment as the best first step solution for addiction, alcoholism, and other self-destructive behaviors. Leonard is the director of a 10-year-old Real Recovery Film Festival and Symposium, and the editor/publisher of the weekly Addiction Recovery e-Bulletin. He also produces the annual Experience, Strength, and Hope Awards in Los Angeles. And he will be celebrating 24 years clean and sober in August. That is amazing. So welcome to Sober Grind, Leonard.
Not if you make it, when you make it.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Absolutely.
Thank
So,
you.
Leonard, why don't we start with tell us a little bit about your history, expand on this bio, and what really brought you to the industry and setting all these ventures up?
Well, I think the Japanese have an expression, at its extreme, everything turns to its opposite. So I thought in the overall scheme of things, going from having been a drug dealer for 23 years to becoming a drug counselor, it was a nice balance to hopefully a long and productive life.
Very well.
As you said, I should be having 24 years sober next month.
It's amazing.
I remember very clearly driving from Studio City to Rancho Mirage to, as I was saying, check into the Betty Ford Center. Although when I got there, I said, "Is this where I check in?" And they said, "This isn't where you check in. This isn't a hotel. This is a hospital. This is where you get admitted." I said, "Okay, take it easy." But I remember before I drove there, I had 2 joints. And I told my roommate, I said, "I got one joint for the ride there and 1 joint for the ride home." Because the idea of driving that far without getting high was unfathomable. Unfathomable. And he said, "Let me hold the 2nd joint, and it'll still be here when you get back." I don't know what happened to that joint. I'm sure someone made good use of it because it was from Hawaii. And I remember driving to treatment and getting lost and being anxious because I didn't want to be late because I was a people pleaser. And I didn't get a chance to go stop for a drink because, like I said, I couldn't find the place. It's like Frank Sinatra Lane and Dinah Shore Road and Bob Hope Highway. It was like it was like going back in time with all these famous musicians singers having streets named after them. Luckily, I did find it, and I had those experiences that they talk about after having gotten high literally every day for 26 years, except a couple times when I was in the hospital from drug-related incidences when I couldn't get high, but they were giving me drugs anyway. I hadn't gone a day without getting high on something in a long, long time. And I remember after 2 weeks there just thinking, oh my God, I can go 2 weeks without getting high. This is a trip. This is a trip. And I decided while I was there to try it for a year, to try not getting high for a year. And of course, 1 year turns into 2 years and 2 years turns into 3 and time just, moves on.
Awesome. So obviously, how long did it take into your sobriety when you decided that you wanted to become a drug and alcohol counselor?
It took 10 years. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a fad,
Yeah.
the not getting high thing.
Mm-hmm.
So at 10 years sober, I went back to Los Angeles Community College and did the whole realm of courses in psychology and substance abuse. Got my certification, which is on the wall over there, and went right to work at a place in LA called Bet Teshuva.
No, I know Bet Teshuva very well. I love that
became-
place. I have a lot of respect for Bet Teshuva. I've actually spoke there a few times myself.
Yeah. And I became a counselor right away, and they gave me full reign, and I was able to develop, my own unique group topics, which somehow relates to what I do now with the Addiction Recovery e-bulletin. Because I remember when I went to do my first group, and I said, "Okay, where's the list of group topics?"
Mm-hmm.
And they laughed. They said no, and so I made up some good ones, mostly based on Carl Jung's work.
Right.
And also the work that I had done myself in various, for lack of a better word, consciousness raising exercises and retreats and workshops.
Okay.
So, I did one. I remember one group was walking around the block twice with no one talking, and it was amazingly how difficult it was for 15 newly sober addicts.
Not saying a word.
Not saying a word. And then when we got back, I would say, how, they would talk about how uncomfortable they felt, but they would also say that after the first time around the block, they started to observe, the houses and the nature and the bushes and the trees. So it just got them to settle down for a little while.
I love that. Yeah.
And I think that most rehab should always incorporate music therapy, art therapy, poetry therapy. I think it's not just about getting off drugs. It's learning how to live a deeper life, deeper life, more in touch with your own mind and your heart, and being. I always said the reason why medical assisted treatment has become so popular is because it doesn't ask you to become a better person like AA does or NA does. When you do medical assisted treatment, they're not giving you the St. Francis prayer as their favorite prayer, or the Lord's Prayer, or even the Serenity Prayer.
Right.
Personally, I think, as they say, substance abuse is just a symptom of underlying problems, and I think maybe nowadays it's a lack of compassion and joy and euphoria or ecstasy in America. I don't see people getting high naturally as much as they did years ago. But I'm not here to certainly, take apart or dissect the epidemic of opium overdoses. I don't know why. The Jungians, people say everyone has a little bit of a death wish. Otherwise life would be so painful to think, to not in some little way look forward to it. Like rest at the end of a good life. So everyone has a little bit of a death wish. I just don't know why so many young people's is so much more pronounced now, that for an hour's worth of euphoria, they'll risk their lives.
Right.
And it's very disorienting and sad and upsetting. And then I got very lucky. My son, when he was 19, came home one day and said, "Dad, I want to go into treatment." I, tried not to react in any way. And he went for a month, and 15 years later, he's getting his 15-year chip.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, it's hard work, it's miracles, it's family support, it's society support. But I don't think that's the answer to the question that you asked me, which, of course, by now I have forgotten completely.
It was more about drug and alcohol counseling. So tell us about the e-bulletin. What's that all about?
The e-bulletin was founded by myself. I'm the editor-publisher 5 years ago. What we do is we use third-party sources for newsworthy. It's not essays, it's not opinion pieces, unless the opinion is from a New York Times columnist. We put together 24 to 30 original stories every week, send it to 22,000 people in recovery, celebrities, treatment professionals, with direct links to the source of the story, whether it's on the BBC or CNN or the New York Times, or obviously the Orange County Register has been covering the treatment industry really wonderfully for the last 5 years. So we just send it out every Tuesday, and people are constantly appreciating it as their only source of news to tell them about sober celebrities, law enforcement changes, policy changes, science changes. Anytime treatment centers get into news with good stories or somewhat scandalous stories, we're like the town crier, for better or worse. And you can easily sign up for it. We have a website. It changes completely every week. It's the Addiction Recovery eBulletin.org.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
I want to pivot and ask you about the Real Recovery Film Fest, but first I want to talk to our audience. Remember, this is an open communication platform, and this is for you. So if you're watching this live, watching this afterwards, or listening to this, please feel free to leave any thoughts, questions, comments, or send us an email at either Austin or Pej at beginningstreatment.com, and we would love to answer those questions for you. So, Leonard, I'm fascinated by the Real Recovery Film Festival. You've crossed the decade mark there now.
Yeah.
Tell us how did you come up with the idea for that, and tell us a little more about what it's about and some of the fun stories that you've seen over the years.
I hope you can appreciate that when I had a couple years sober, I went alone to see the movie Leaving Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a true story.
Yes.
With a brutal ending, and I was so triggered by the film,
right?
Even though, the dire consequences, I had to go to an Alano Center in San Rafael, California, and just sit there and wait till the next meeting. So I thought, so that was that experience. And then when I moved to Los Angeles and started Writers in Treatment, which helps people get into treatment either by finding them scholarships or referrals or suggestions or ideas and advice. I thought I want to get the word out about the organization Writers in Treatment. And I looked around. Luckily, the internet was still, there. And found out that there wasn't anybody doing anything with films about addiction and alcoholism. And I know people are fascinated by old films like Days of Wine and Roses,
yes,
The Lost Weekend, or the classic Less Than Zero with one of Robert Downey Jr.'s breakout roles. And I thought, I want people to see these, but I don't want them to see them alone. So why don't I start a film festival where we can show them on the big screen, not on a computer, not on the TV, big screen, and then always have a conversation afterwards. Either have the filmmaker there or a clinician to do what I call a mini process group with the audience, or a talk back. I remember the very first film we showed was Permanent Midnight, written by Jerry Stahl, who was a TV writer who got, crossed that line and wrote a great book about it called Permanent Midnight, and he got Ben Stiller to play him in the movie. And our very first screening was that film, and both Ben and Jerry Stahl came and talked for about a half hour after the film, and it was really, made that experience more richer. So luckily we're in LA, so we have access to a lot of the filmmakers who submit films. In the last 10 years, we've shown over 285.
Oh, that's amazing.
Shorts, documentaries,
wow,
features. We get submissions. We had an animated short from Iran 2 years ago. We get films from Ireland and Australia, and of course, the States. And like I said, we never just show a film and say good night or good afternoon. We always have a clinician or a filmmaker engage the audience.
Right.
Yeah, and this will be our 10th year in West Los Angeles at the Royal Theater at the end of October.
I was at the last
love it.
one. I was highly impressed. I really enjoyed it. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, and we print programs with all the films and all the times and all the information. Usually goes up on our Real Recovery Film Festival website a couple weeks before the event starts.
Okay.
And we get a lot of groups coming. No one is ever turned away for lack of payment. It's only $10 for a screening or $25 for a whole day. We start at 1 p.m. and our last film usually screens around 8 o'clock. And it's a nice social event, but it's also, we say we only show films that show honest depictions. We don't like things that exaggerate or minimize what drugs and alcohol and other life-threatening behaviors can do for you. So our main criteria for accepting a film is that it's an honest representation, that it's also entertaining. It's not like an after-school documentary. Sometimes they're inspirational, but they're always fun to talk about afterwards because people see themselves on the film and say, oh, I wasn't that bad, or oh, I'm so glad I didn't go there. So it engages people on a very personal, emotional level.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Andy, It's nice to hear you.
Have you ever been in a recovery documentary yourself? Because actually I think Beginnings is planning on, or a documentary is in the works right now through our treatment center, and so that's going to be a first for us, but we're super excited about it. And I was just wondering, since you do put that on, is that something you've ever participated in yourself?
Well, it could be the beginnings.
Oh, you could be, yeah, I want the same for myself. I want a feature in it too.
No. To answer the question, no.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
there's-
soon to happen.
Yeah, there's light bulbs going up above our heads.
I want to address a couple. We had a couple comments that just came in. If you could pull those up. Phil says, "What's up, Pej?"
Hi, Phil. Phil Shatton. I know you too well.
It says we need to be supporting medically assisted treatment within treatment centers. To go back to your point that you brought up, Leonard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it seems we're running a little low on time here. Pej, did you have any final questions for our guest today?
No, I think I'm happy that we finally got you on the show. I'm sorry that it didn't happen a couple of weeks ago when we were saying that it was going to happen, but I want to communicate more with you outside of here. We've got
Sure.
a lot of things that we're working on, and we'd like to collaborate with you, and we respect what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. You've taken it to another level. I know a lot of people get sober and they become a drug and alcohol counselor, but you're doing more than that, and I'm observing you from afar, but I know you're doing good work, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me and us in the future. Thank you for coming on our show today.
Thank you. Can I just say one last thing before we go?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
I'd like to invite all your viewers and listeners to please consider attending our 10th annual Experience, Strength, and Hope Awards. It's on February 28th at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. It's an event we do where we honor a high-profile celebrity who's written a memoir about their career and their recovery. So we've honored John Taylor from Duran Duran. We've had Lou Gossett Jr., Buzz Aldrin,
Awesome.
Mackenzie Phillips, great
Good old Matt.
television personality, Pat O'Brien. This year it'll be Craig Ferguson,
Awesome.
a very funny and talented and sober
Yeah.
Ferguson. So that's going to be on
Late night host.
February 28th. If anybody wants more information, we have a website, right?
I do.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
I want more
We'll be
info.
there.
You heard him, ladies and gentlemen. Attend that award. I know we'll all be there, or hopefully be there.
We will.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Sober Grind. Make sure you subscribe and listen on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are there. Join our...
As you are a great dispenser of good news.
Thank you.
Until next time, friends, Sober Grind out.
So we're gonna.